The judge looked at the papers in front of her, then asked a question. "Does anyone dispute this will?" My mother sat across the courtroom with her hands folded on the table. She did not look at me. I did not answer. For almost 2 years, I had believed my father left me nothing. Not the house. Not the money he saved. Not the hardware store he spent 40 years building from a rented room into a place that paid bills. My mother told me Dad wanted everything to go to her. She said he had made his choice. I believed her. She was my mother, and grief makes you tired. You don't want to fight over papers while everyone else is mourning. So I signed nothing. I asked few questions. I stayed away from the house. Then my attorney placed an envelope on the table. The room became still. My mother looked at me. Her face was calm, but her fingers had stopped moving. The judge reached for the envelope. "There appears to be another document," she said. I looked at my mother. For the first time since my father died, she looked afraid. To understand why, I have to take you back to the night we buried him. The night we buried Dad, the house smelled like cold coffee and funeral flowers. People moved through the kitchen in slow groups, speaking softly and avoiding the empty chair. I had spent the whole day answering questions about Dad, then watching people eat food I could barely touch. My mother waited until most left before she asked me to sit with her. She placed a folder on the table. Her voice was quiet when she said Dad had left everything to her. The house, his savings, and the store were hers now, she said, because that was what he wanted. She told me there was nothing for me, and she said it like she was giving me bad news about someone else's life. I asked if there was another paper. Mom shook her head and said the folder contained everything I needed to see. She put her hand over mine and told me Dad had been clear before he died. She said fighting her would only tear the family apart, and I was tired to argue. She showed me a copy of the will. My name was nowhere on it. I stared at the pages until the words blurred, then folded my hands in my lap and asked where Dad had signed it. She pointed to the bottom of it. I accepted her answer because I had no reason to believe my own mother had hidden anything from me. 3 weeks later, we had dinner at my aunt's house. The table was crowded, but nobody talked about Dad until my uncle lifted his glass and said Mom had enough to handle. He looked at me and told me I should let her settle everything. I nodded because arguing in front of everyone would not bring Dad back. After that, the story followed me. My cousins said Dad had wanted Mom to be comfortable. My aunt said he had probably worried I would waste the money. People who barely knew our family repeated it. Mom never corrected them. She did not have to. She had given everyone a version of events that was easy to accept. Dad was gone, Mom was his widow, and I was the daughter who needed to respect his wishes. Each time someone mentioned the estate, I felt myself becoming smaller inside my family. I stopped asking questions. I stopped going to the house unless Mom invited me. When I called about the store, she said it was being handled and told me not to worry. Then one afternoon, while sorting through a box of Dad's things, I found a notebook with his handwriting on the cover. I opened it at the kitchen table. The pages were filled with notes about the store. Orders, repairs, bills. I saw a date written several months before he died. Under it were 4 words that made me stop reading. Every Saturday, Dad opened the hardware store at 7. I would meet him there a little after 8, when the morning rush had settled. The first thing we did was sweep the floor because sawdust and bits of cardboard collected near the front door. Then he counted the register twice, checked the coffee pot, and started making a list of what needed to be done. Dad had a way of keeping everything in its place. Screws went in labeled drawers. Receipts went into a metal tray. Supplier bills were clipped together before they went into a folder. If something mattered, Dad wrote it down. Around 10, we usually had coffee near the back counter. He would ask about my work, my bills, and whether I was saving anything. He never talked much about his own money. But he once told me that papers mattered because people forgot conversations, while paper stayed where you put it. That sentence stayed with me years later. So did the afternoon he showed me where he kept the family records. It was an old gray cabinet behind his desk. He tapped the top drawer and said, "If you ever need something important, start there." At the time, I thought he was teaching me how he ran the store. I did not ask what else was inside that drawer. I did not ask why he suddenly seemed so careful about where everything was kept. And I certainly did not ask why, months before he died, he started writing down things he had never written down before. The gray cabinet was still behind Dad's desk when I went back to the store. Mom had given me a key 2 days earlier, along with a warning not to spend too much time looking through Dad's things. She said most of it was old store paperwork and that there was nothing I needed. I opened the top drawer anyway. There were receipts, bank letters, property papers, and folders with dates written in Dad's handwriting. I moved slowly through them, putting each paper back where I found it. Then I found a small envelope tucked beneath a stack of supplier bills. Inside was a receipt from a lawyer's office. The date was 6 months before Dad died. I read it twice because the name on the receipt was not familiar. Under the name was a short note in Dad's handwriting: estate meeting. I sat down in his chair. The room was quiet except for the old refrigerator humming near the back wall. Mom had told me the will she showed me was the final one, and she had never mentioned any meeting with a lawyer. I kept searching the drawer. I found nothing else from that day, but the receipt was enough to make me pause. Dad had paid someone to help with his estate months before his death. Yet the paper Mom gave me looked like something that had been sitting untouched for years. For the first time, I stopped asking why Dad had left me nothing. I started asking a different question. What happened after that meeting? 2 days after I found the receipt, Mom called me and asked me to come over. There was another folder waiting on her kitchen table. She said it was the last thing she needed from me, and she pushed it across the table without looking at me. Inside was a form saying I accepted Dad's wishes and had no claim to anything in his estate. I asked why she needed my signature if Dad's will was already clear. Mom said it was simply paperwork to close things properly. She kept her voice soft and told me everyone was tired of dealing with the estate. Then she said I could help the family by letting her finish it. I read the first page again. My name appeared several times, but the hardware store was mentioned only once. I asked if I could take the papers home and read them properly. Mom's hand stopped halfway to her coffee cup. She looked at me for a few seconds. Then she said, "Your father was very clear about you." Her voice was still calm, but something had changed. I told her I was not refusing to sign. I was simply not signing anything that day. She pulled the folder back toward herself. She said I was making this harder than it needed to be. I picked up my coat and left without arguing. Outside, I sat in my car and looked at the receipt from Dad's lawyer. I called the number printed at the top. The person who answered asked me one question. "Have you seen the original will?" The woman on the phone was a legal secretary. She asked me to bring the receipt, the copy of the will, and anything else Dad had left about his estate. 3 days later, I sat across from an attorney named Daniel Mercer. He read the papers without rushing, then placed them in 3 separate piles. The first pile was the will Mom had shown me. The second held Dad's property papers and bank letters. The third was the receipt from the lawyer's office. Daniel looked at the date again, then asked me when Dad had died. When I gave him the date, he wrote it in the margin. He pointed to the will. This was signed nearly 2 years before that meeting. I looked at him and said Mom had told me this was Dad's final will. Daniel did not argue with her. He simply asked whether I had seen any newer pages, notes, or letters. I told him about the gray cabinet. I told him about Dad's habit of keeping every paper. Daniel leaned back and studied the receipt again. Then he said something that made my stomach tighten. "If your father met with another lawyer 6 months before he died, we need to find out why." He asked me to leave the papers with him. I agreed. Before I left, he made one more call. He gave the other person Dad's full name and date of death. Then he stopped talking. He listened for several seconds before asking, "Do you still have his client file?" The call ended, and Daniel asked me to wait. He did not explain much. He only said the other lawyer's office had found an old client file and would send a copy that afternoon. I sat in his office while rain tapped against the window. An hour later, an email arrived. Daniel opened the file on his computer. There were letters from Dad, notes from the lawyer, and a signed page dated 6 months before his death. Then Daniel opened another scan and asked me to look at the screen. It was a will. My hands went cold. I read Dad's name and the date. It was newer than the paper Mom had shown me. There were signatures from Dad and 2 witnesses. My name appeared in the middle of the page. Dad had left me the house. He had also left me a large part of his savings and his share of the store. I read the page twice, then looked at Daniel. "Is this real?" He pointed to the witness records and lawyer's notes. Everything matched. The date matched the receipt. Dad had signed the will in that office, with witnesses present. I started crying, but not because of the money. I was thinking about those nights when I had wondered why Dad had pushed me away. Mom had made me believe his silence meant he had chosen her. Daniel kept reading. Then his face changed. There was a letter in the file, written by Dad after the will was signed. In it, he had written one sentence about my mother. Daniel read the letter before turning the screen toward me. Dad had written that he wanted me protected if anything happened to him. He said Mom had access to the papers, but he did not want her handling the will. He had asked the lawyer to keep the copy in a separate file. I stared at those words. Dad had not written them because he hated Mom. He had written them because he did not trust what might happen after he was gone. That was harder than the money. He had seen a problem coming and tried to protect me. Daniel opened page. It was a note from the lawyer confirming that Dad had asked for the will to stay private until after his death. He had told the lawyer that Mom might try to change the story. My chest tightened when I read that line. I asked Daniel if Mom had known about the will. He said the file did not answer that, but there was something else inside it. A letter from the lawyer to Dad mentioned that Mom was told a will had been prepared. I sat back in the chair. For 2 years, I had carried the weight of believing Dad had chosen to leave me behind. Now I was holding proof that he had planned for me. Question was no longer what Dad wanted. It was what Mom had done after she found out. The probate hearing was 3 weeks later. Mom sat beside her lawyer, dressed in a dark blue jacket, with the same calm face she had worn at the funeral. My attorney placed the newer will before the judge. Mom's lawyer said the document should not be accepted without a full review. The judge allowed the review. Dates were checked. Witness names were checked. The lawyer who prepared the will confirmed that Dad had signed it in his office. Nothing about the document was unusual. Then Daniel handed the court a copy of the letter about Mom. He explained that Dad had asked his office to keep the newer will safe. Mom's lawyer asked why Dad would hide a will from his wife. Daniel answered that Dad had given his reason in writing. He was worried the document might not reach me after his death. Mom sat very still. The judge asked whether she had ever been told that Dad prepared another will. Her lawyer asked for a moment to speak with her. They whispered together while everyone waited. Finally, Mom answered. She said she had heard Dad mention meeting with a lawyer. She said she never saw the finished document. Then the judge asked another question. If you knew he was preparing new estate papers, why did you tell your daughter that the document you showed her was his final will? Mom looked down at the table. Nobody spoke. The judge waited. Mom's lawyer leaned toward her, but she did not answer right away. Then she looked across the courtroom at me, and for the first time, I saw something in her face that had nothing to do with grief. Mom finally answered. She said Dad had talked about changing things, but she believed he had decided against it. My attorney placed the lawyer's letter on the table. The letter was dated after the new will had been signed, and it said Mom had been told that the papers were being kept safely. The judge read the letter slowly. Then she asked Mom's lawyer whether there was any record showing Dad had canceled that will. There was nothing. No later will. No signed note. No letter from Dad changing his wishes. Just the older paper Mom had used to control the estate. My uncle shifted in his chair. My aunt stopped looking at Mom. Even my cousins, who had spent months telling me to accept Dad's wishes, sat quietly. The story they had heard from Mom was falling apart in front of them. Then the judge accepted the newer will as valid. The house would go to me. A large part of Dad's savings would go to me as well. His share of the store would be handled according to the instructions he had left. I did not look at Mom when the decision was read. I kept my hands folded and listened. There was no cheering, no shouting, just the sound of papers being moved across the table. After the hearing, my aunt approached me near the courthouse doors. She looked embarrassed and said she had believed Mom because she was the widow. I told her I understood. Then I looked back into the courtroom. Mom was still sitting in the same chair. Only now, nobody was sitting beside her. A week after court, I went back to Dad's store alone. The bell above the door made the same little sound it had made for years. Dust sat along the bottom shelf, and the old register was still behind the counter. For a few minutes, I just stood there and listened to the refrigerator humming in the back. I walked through the aisles slowly. I touched the drawers where Dad kept screws, bolts, and washers. His handwriting was still on the labels. Everything was where he had left it, including the chipped coffee mug beside the register. The house was mine now, so was a large part of his savings. But standing inside that store, the money felt far away. What mattered was that Dad had spent years preparing for my future, while Mom had spent 2 years telling me he had forgotten me. I opened the gray cabinet one last time. The folders were gone, but the empty drawer remained. I thought about the day Dad had tapped it and told me to start there if I ever needed something important. I finally understood what he had been trying to give me. It was not just a house or money. He had left me proof that he had seen me, trusted me, and wanted me protected after he was gone. I locked the store before sunset. I kept his old key in my pocket. Then I walked away without looking back. For 2 years, my mother had controlled the story about what Dad left me. Now the papers told it for her.